manual. He's delivering project number 8, which is Get Comfortable with Visual Aids. The objectives of this speech are to select visual aids that are appropriate for your message and the audience, to use visual aids correctly with ease and confidence. The timing for this speech is 5 to 7 minutes. So I think I'll hand back to the Toastmaster. And am I introducing?
Oh, right, it might as well, yes.
Peter Stewart, with a speech entitled Second to None. Peter Stewart.
Good evening.
Evening.
Stand at ease. I'd like to open up with a question. Put up your hands if you know the name of Scotland's only cavalry regiment. Show of hands. Good. None. Well, my mission tonight is to give you a brief history of this regiment. Their name is the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, Carabineers and Greys. What I'm going to do is take you back in history and take you up to the present day regiment. They were formed in 1678, a long time ago. They were raised a regiment of dragoons in Edinburgh. They all rode grey horses. So their name eventually became this Royal Scots Greys. And because of this, everyone in the present day regiment wears a grey beret in memory of the grey horses. 1812, 18th of June, a significant day in their history. Can anyone tell me what day that was? No? It was the Battle of Waterloo. The Scots Greys were lined up. The French cavalry had been given us a hard time. The French gunneries had given us a hard time. The Scots Greys lined up with the Gordon Highlanders from Aberdeen, and they held on to their stirrups. And they trotted forward, and then the charge came out of the street, and they shouted, "Scotland forever!" And because of that, Lady Butler made a very famous painting, and this was called Scotland Forever. During the battle, on one of those grey horses, one guy, very audacious in the way he was going to do it, he charged forward and he slashed and slashed and slashed, and he went and he grabbed hold of the French banner. The banner you do not lose as a regiment. A great dishonour to lose it, and a great honour to win it. And because of that, the banner was actually an eagle. And this is the eagle today. And it's got Waterloo in it, and it's still worn as part of the uniform today. The Scots Greys fought throughout Europe for a time, and then came the Great War. The war to supposedly end all wars. But it didn't. Now remember, World War I was starting to get mechanised, but they still used horses. But they weren't grey. They were grey, but what they had to do for the first time ever, they had to dye the horses a chestnut brown. Two reasons for this. The first, the Germans knew who the Royal Scots Greys were, and if they knew who they were, they knew what division they were up against. So it was used for intelligence purposes. And the second one was nobody wants to sit on top of a grey horse with a sniper facing you. You're too easy seen. So that was another reason why that happened. Then came the Second World War. And would you believe, up until 1941, they were still using horses in the Second World War. In fact, they became the last troops to use horses in a battle situation. In 1941, they changed over to an armoured reconnaissance regiment, which was tanks, etc. And they fought in the desert. They worked their way up through Italy. And then they were pulled back to go part of D-Day, part of the D-Day landings. They didn't make it all the way to Berlin because the war had moved on, and they were kind of halted halfway up to Berlin. And this is actually the uniform that would have worn that day. They were part of the Royal Armoured Corps, and they were also the Desert Rats. And this is the emblem that they would have worn, and they're still the Desert Rats to this day. And they still wear this emblem. But there was something happened in 1971 that was to really change. Would you believe they were amalgamated with an English regiment to form the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards? They amalgamated with the 3rd Carbineers, which was a Cheshire regiment, Welsh border, and this became their new badge. Still carrying the rifles and the name Waterloo, and that was the new badge. In 1971, they also become famous. Do you know what for? Amazing Grace with the pipe band became worldwide. One of the sad facts, the first soldier to die is actually buried here in Aberdeen up in the Broad Hill. Trooper Ian Kye from Kincoath, killed in a booby trap in Northern Ireland. Some famous people who have served in the regiment are Sir Ranulph Fiennes, the explorer, Royal Scots Greys; Murray Walker, the racing commentator, Royal Scots Greys; and the present Duke of Kent, Royal Scots Greys. The only famous Royal Scots Dragoon Guard so far is me, and I'm not all that famous. What they do today, this is their present role. They were the first troops to use the Challenger tank in Gulf War I and Gulf War II. And to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, this is a regiment, as far as I'm concerned, are second to none. Thank you. Great, folks, again.